One day, Thomas was taking Ben back to the works because Ben has broken down, and so finally Ben was at the works, and then Ben was glad to be ready for being fixed up again. And just then, after when he was in the works, Ben said this to Thomas. "Thank you," he said. "You're welcome," said Thomas, and then Thomas puffed away. He was feeling really happy and was steaming on the main line. When he was arriving, he didn't know where he was going. He went up the Grand Canyon and went into a loft and went inside a lost area where he never been on before. "What? That is strange," said Thomas, and he went out of it and steamed through the mainland, through the sheds, and through the docks, where he also said hello to Torindo Jack. But just then, Thomas arrived. But when he was arriving shortly, no one was there at Boulder Mountain. So while he was puffing, he didn't know that he was missing himself. Meanwhile, Dennis was boasting to the engines when the Fat Controller came in. He had worrying news. "Thomas has gone missing, so Dennis, I want you to find him." "Yes, sir," said Dennis. "Also, Ben told me that he did well taking him to the, Ben also told me that Thomas did well taking him to the works to be mended, and now Thomas is still missing and I can't find him." "I know, sir," said Dennis, "but I will find Thomas." And so Dennis puffed away. When Dennis arrived, he spoke to Victor and said this to him. "Where's Thomas?" "I don't know," said Victor, "but I'm worried about him." He arrived at the docks and told Torindo Jast. Torindo Jast said this to him. Torindo Jast said this to Dennis. And so Dennis went to the docks and told Torindo Jast where was Thomas. So Torindo Jast said this to Dennis. He's at Boulder Mountain." "Is he really?" said Dennis, and so Dennis puffed away. But when he arrived, he thought Thomas might have been gone along. But when he arrived at Boulder Mountain, there was Duncan playing outside Boulder Mountain. Dennis thought it was Thomas, but it wasn't. "My name's not Thomas," said Duncan. "You're not the engine who I'm looking for," said Dennis. So Dennis puffed away. "What is he talking about?" said Duncan. So Duncan carried on playing. He didn't know what he just said. While he puffed along, suddenly Dennis found Thomas, and he found the slate cars derailed off the rails, and Boulder fell down as well. But he thought he did. But the only things he found was Boulder and the slate cars derailed. He saw a red thing, and just then he found him at last, and he knew who it was. It was Thomas. "Thomas," he said, "I was worried you have run off." "I would never do that," said Thomas. "While I was in a happy mood, I've gone missing, and I was worried that I might get squashed by the boulder," he said. "Don't worry," said Dennis. "I'll have you back on the rails in no time." The slate cars were back on the rails. The slate trucks were put back on the rails, and Boulder was finally and Boulder was finally putting up again, and Thomas was back on the rails. His wheels were damaged and so was his buffers, so Thomas had to go to the works to be mended, and he did. You promised not to run off, Thomas, said Duncan. I didn't run off, said Thomas, but Thomas didn't know that he did run off. It's because I wanted to see you and have fun with you at Boulder Mountain, said Thomas. Oh yeah, said Duncan, and so Thomas puffed away. So did Dennis. Later, Dennis found Thomas, and the Fat Controller was glad that he was there. I thought you'd run off, he said. I would never do that, said Thomas. The engines were glad. So was Ben. He was mended now, so he came back as well, except Thomas, who was really damaged because he might have run off. Or it might have been because he wanted to have fun with Duncan at the Boulder Mountain.